So let's get to the top of this week's town hall. Tell us more about the new book, Dick.
Okay, yes, we're going to get to the SMA way. Excuse me, here it is, the SMA way. Now, this is a lot to cover in this book. So we're actually going to do a two-parter. We're actually going to do first few chapters of the 7 chapters this week, and then we'll cover the last 3 chapters next week. So let's get going with our PowerPoint presentation.
Okay.
This is Reader's Theatre meets Death by PowerPoint. So there's so many style guides that are actually out there. Many proposal teams probably have a copy of something like Strunk and White or the Chicago Manual of Style. But many other professions and press organizations and governments have their own style guides. For example, there's a few of them here that we've seen. The American Chemical Society, the American Medical Association, and then, of course, the Associated Press, the New York Times, The Economist, which I think was one AJ put me on to, and then one that I'd used before back in the day, the Australian Government Style Guide. So if they can all have their own style guides, why not create a style guide just to do proposals?
Right.
But not just a set of rules for, how we handle acronyms and things like that, but a complete guide to creating compelling proposal content, including graphics.
Great.
So as you know, SMA was founded in 1982, been around a long time. But by the 1990s, with the rise of PCs and Macs and Microsoft Office, of course, we created a go-to reference for all our associates that contained all our in-house and just-in-time training material for use on client engagements, and that was known as the Associate Policies and Procedures Manual, APPM. We first had a go at putting out a reference for proposal writers in, I think it was the early 2000s.
Okay.
But really the breakthrough was last year, and that's when we introduced a whole bunch of books, 4 books in our program Lifecycle Body of Knowledge series. These were released at the APMP conference in Dallas. And so we had the 4, which is the Managing the Capture of New Business, Essential Guide to Program Architecture, the Essential Guide to Proposal Development, and the Essential Principles of Winning Proposals. And Patty's holding a few up here. You've probably seen them. Very successful release in Dallas, and so successful, why stop there?
Right.
So we wrote, designed, and created 3 more for Orlando, which was a conference this year, improving sales and revenue forecasts in uncertain markets, the essential principles of baselining solutions for proposals, written by the one and only Jacques Keats.
Yes.
And of course, the SMA Way, a style guide for proposal writers. So what's in the SMA Way? Like I said, I'm going to go through the first 4 chapters. I'll read some of the content from the book.
Okay.
And later on, we'll tell you how you can actually access the book, or even buy it if you want to.
Wow.
Okay, so there it is. There's our book. So let's move on. Okay. We've got to have a process, people. We've got to have a process. We don't just start writing, right?
Right.
So the SMA process, most of you are familiar with this, but the first few chapters of the book goes through the SMA process. So in our proposal process, the proposal manager is going to take the customer's RFP, they're going to burst it out, create an outline for the response. It's going to be divided into modules, and each module ideally covers a single topic for customer requirements, right?
Right.
This annotated outline aligns all of the RFP requirements into each module so that we can easily create a compliance matrix to check all the customer requirements answered. The proposal manager has also distilled the proposal win themes into discrete win themes applicable to each module and assigned those modules to authors. Now, as a proposal writer, you've now got 1 or more modules that you're going to have to write. But you don't just start writing. I'm going to keep saying that.
Yes. It's true.
We want to emphasize the need for you to plan the module you're going to write before you start writing.
Right.
So after you've read and analysed the annotated outline and all the other documents in the proposal, you're then going to design, engineer, and build your proposal module or modules in 5 easy steps.
Okay.
Step number 1 is the module spec or mod spec. It's the design requirement document for each thematically coherent proposal module, i.e. covering just one thing, ideally, right? In the mod spec, you're going to list the applicable RFP requirements, your approach to meet the requirements, any discriminators of your approach relative to other bidders, and the features and benefits of your approach. The next step is the story map. That is the engineering plan and layout drawing for the module. So each module has a page count allocation based on the topic's importance, complexity and scope. The story map defines the proposal module page by apportioning the amount of space allocated to each subtopic and identifying and placing each figure. Art. Art in proposals is going to tell the story as an arc, but with simple and powerful messages, substantiating rich data and information and creating a memorable experience. The art is the central structure element of the proposal, whereas the narrative just informs and provides nuance. Once we've done our art, we can put it into our annotated mock-up, or AMU. This is the prototype of our proposal module. AMU builds on the story map by first inserting the completed graphics and with art callouts and action captions, and then adds additional details in bulleted text supporting the data. Finally, we get to module drafts. Having defined the messages, documented the data, and developed the graphics, we now complete telling the story by expanding the AMU bullets into full text.
Wow, amazing. Okay.
So for more details on this proposal process, you can read the Essential Guide to Proposal Development, which is, all the books, you can find them if you go to the SMA Knowledge Center on SharePoint, go to the library, go to books. You can read the electronic versions of the books. On this one, the proposal development, you can also go into the learning management system and do the course.
Right.
You took that course, right? So it's a very easy course. A few questions are asked, and it'll put it into your TOD profile that you took the course, and you'll then be the basics of the SMA proposal process. So let's move on to chapter 2. We're going to talk about proposal templates. So before we can start writing, we're going to need a template. We're going to need something to put it in.
Right.
It's got to be attractive, it's got to be robust, it's got to be compliant with the RFP, and it has to represent your brand and the professional quality that you want to convey. Now, maybe you think, hey, I'm just a proposal writer, why do I care, right? Isn't this just for the publications and the proposal production team? Why do I care about this? Maybe, but we recommend that you actually read this because we want you to understand what the concepts of a good template design are.
Makes sense.
The primary requirement is going to be compliance. It doesn't matter how you want your proposal to look, it's got to be compliant with the formatting requirements mandated by the customer. For proposals, the formatting requirements are normally in that section of the RFP that specifies the proposal preparation instructions. Okay, that, and as we all know, in a federal proposal, that's going to be our section L.
Right.
These requirements will also normally tell you how to structure your response into volumes and sections. It may actually dictate the page size, the margins, the minimum font size, and perhaps the font face even, jolly old Times New Roman, right?
Right.
And then there's the colour theme. So before you start creating your template, you've got to decide on what colours you want to use.
Yes.
The colour palette is going to be the colours for your proposal colour theme. They should reflect not only your corporate brand, but be sympathetic to the customer's colour theme. For example, if we're doing a proposal to the Army or Navy, we shouldn't be using green.
Yeah.
And if we do a proposal for the Army, we shouldn't use blue. Okay.
Right, yes.
So you get the idea. You want something that's going to be sympathetic to the customer. They open the proposal and go, oh yeah, this feels good to me, right?
Right.
Okay, the little things. We need to decide on which theme colours we're going to use to add an accent to headings in the proposal. So unless we're stuck with all black, and I've never seen a proposal actually say it all has to be black, we can put them in a different colour, make headings stand out. When you see the book, you'll see all the headings have different colours. It makes them stand out, makes it easy to navigate. You can also use shades of grey to de-emphasise content that's not necessarily doesn't need to stand out. Header and footer text doesn't need to stand out. It can be in shades of grey.
That's right.
Okay. And then also you decide which theme colours you're going to use for the tables and graphics and things like that, because you want a consistent look and feel across the whole proposal.
Right. That's important.
Right. So here's some typical page layouts. Several factors are going to influence how you lay out your proposal pages. the page size, which over here in the States is typically 8.5 by 11 inches letter, but of course if you're doing a proposal to Europe it could be A4, it could be Canada, it could be either. I've used both. Can you use fold-outs? If so, 11 by 17. Do you want to use portrait or landscape for your page orientation? Maybe landscape's easier to read on a screen, portrait's easier to read in a book.
Right.
What are the page margins? They may be dictated. The number of text columns, and whether the text is left aligned or fully justified. So you can play with that, which is easier to read, basically.
Right.
Is it going to be electronically delivered as like a PDF, which most of them are these days, but some still want to be printed and bound. And then, is that going to be single-sided or double-sided?
Right.
That's going to have some impact on how you do your template. And then there may be page count limitations, specifically whether fold-outs count as 2 pages, because that really
Right. It's important.
can make page numbering interesting.
Right. Oh, yes.
Okay. Okay, so let's look at some of these factors. Just one factor of this, right? Simplest page layout, top left, is 1 column of text. However, a single column layout might not be the best layout depending on circumstances. For example, how many columns do you want to use? You need to understand the pros and cons of 1 column versus multiple column layouts. So 1 column layout, that's the easiest. We all know that one. That's the default. Most software packages, and we'll say, Word is what we're going to be using, right? Since that's the easiest to use for most proposal writers. Whether it ends up in design later on, it's probably going to start in Word. That's where most people start. So, graphics, using the full width of the page, you can easily put that into the text. It's super easy. But those long lines of text, reading from one side to the other, it's about 100 characters per line for a typical US letter page with 1-inch margins. That can actually be harder to read, especially for older people.
Yeah, I can't relate to that.
No, me neither. No, I don't get that at all. But research suggests that the shorter lines created in 2 column layouts, which are 40 to 65 characters per line, are much easier to read comprehensively rather than simply scanning. Moreover, a multiple column layout can save space overall if you're in a page limited environment, where headings and bulleted numbered lists, bulleted or numbered lists are taken into account. You can actually save a lot of space, and it gives you more options for graphic design. So it can be half the page, full page, that kind of thing.
Right.
Okay. Think like a paperback. Paperback actually has quite a narrow width. It's much easier to read than if it was in a full-size letter page, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, and newspapers as well. Much easier to read multiple columns.
True.
Now, those 2 column layouts or multi-column layouts, like the 3 column layout shown bottom right, they will require more experience with the software tools when you're preparing for the final proposal, and you need to have some scheme of how you're going to get the text to wrap around the graphics with their action captions.
Yeah.
So you need to know how to do that. Even a 1 column layout, if you're going to have half-width graphics, you're going to have to figure that out.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So let's look at now how we're actually going to create our content.
Okay.
Okay. We're not going to start writing yet. We've got our module. We've started designing it, okay, using a document based on the proposal template. So what are we going to put into that first? We're going to put in some headings, which are going to be based from the story map, right? They're going to reflect the section numbering and the proposal outline in the RFP.
Okay.
We're going to have subheadings that will give us a consistent module structure that leads the customer through your understanding of what they want, your solution that benefits that, and then why they should trust you to do the work. That's the basic structure you're trying to create. We'll details on that in a minute. We're going to have graphics. They're going to tell the story. Each graphic's going to have an action caption to tell the customer why they should look at the graphic.
Right.
And a call out in the body which anchors the graphic to the relevant discussion text.
Right.
And we're going to have a thesis statement at the top of the module. That's going to describe how you're responding to the most important customer requirements and why your approach benefits the customer. It also responds to RFP instructions, contains a bold assertion with benefits and some proof.
Right.
Okay?
It's important.
If it's a major section, you might have a focus box. That's going to be at the top right-hand corner of the first page. It's going to have that bold assertion or key claim about your team's superior qualifications or discriminating feature to do this program. Like a newspaper headline, it's going to grab the reader's attention. It's going to have some bullets of supporting data in a concise manner below the headline. And it's literally going to be the first thing they read when they turn a page. Oof, there it is. They're going to read it.
Right.
Okay, you're going to have some bullets. No text. We're just going to have bullets. But the bullets are going to have the central message statement for each text paragraph.
Okay.
But first, let's think about our paragraph structure. How are we actually going to structure our paragraphs?
Okay.
So here's a typical page here. Okay. Let's get started. We want a typical module in, let's say, a technical or a management response.
Okay.
We want the evaluator to clearly see that you understand their requirements, what they want to achieve.
Right.
Okay. That your solution is the best of all possible solutions to their requirements, and that the company has the experience and expertise to provide that solution at the lowest risk.
Right.
Because that's
important.
really what it's about,
Yes.
right? So, the proposal manager has structured the modules in the proposal outline that ideally your module only has a single topic for you to respond to. There might be subtopics you need to address, and there's no single way for how you can respond to that. But this is a structure that we recommend that will get you started, regardless of the number of subtopics covered by the module,
Okay.
or the number of pages you actually have available. Okay, note that not all the topics in the structure need their own subheadings, especially if the module is only a single page.
Right.
However, a typical proposal module can range from 4 to 10 pages, so you should consider adding subheadings to help the customer navigate your response to their requirements. Okay, so start with the headings that you already had from the proposal outline. Excuse me. Add your thesis statement right after the first heading to convey that most important message.
Okay.
And now you could put in some bullet points. I know this shows full text, but you're going to put in some bullet points. Okay, and you convert these into full paragraphs later. Let's talk about our understanding of what the customer wants. That can go right down to the end user level,
Right.
if necessary. We're going to talk about our approach and the features and benefits of our approach.
Okay.
We're going to talk about the alternative, maybe some approaches that we discarded. Maybe they're the ones that our competitors are doing. Okay, so we can diss our competitors at the same time. We can ghost them. Talk about how we can meet the customer's schedule with the minimum risk, and then talk about our past performance, why we should be doing this for you, and then finally end up with a why us, the kicker at the end, right?
Yes.
So that's chapter 3. So let's move on to chapter 4. This is the last section we're going to cover today. I think we're going to run over just a bit, so bear with us. Graphics. Oops, back one, there we go. Chapter 4 talks about graphics. They're going to convey the most complex information and the key messages of the proposal. You've got your module, you've got all the stuff in it, okay, you've got some placeholders for the graphics, and you've added figure call-outs roughly where you're going to say, go see figure 1. Now you're going to design the graphics to go in there, and you're going to create compelling action captions that tell the evaluator the key messages. So this is the key part of the proposal.
Right.
Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to create graphics, and this is everything. It's tables, figures, photos, line art, diagrams, whatever. All of that are figures, and the idea is we're going to narrate the art, not illustrate the text.
Right.
Graphics are an ideal tool. I mean, look at this middle one here. This is a one-page program overview that can summarize the whole proposal and provide the reader with an instant understanding. Okay, that's that ConOps graphic, concept of operations.
Right.
If that's the key graphic in your proposal, that's great. You know, you can have a schematic drawing that's much easier to understand than text,
True.
right, with a complex system. You could have a table, great for showing relationships, and of course a flow chart for showing processes, much easier than trying to describe it.
Right.
Okay. You could have illustrations to show how a product or physical facility will look. Photographs shows you've already got it, you're already there, okay?
Right.
And, you know, we're going to quote, or badly quote, Henrik Ibsen. Okay, 1906, who's heard of Henrik Ibsen? Ibsen was a Norwegian playwright and theatre director, and he said, quote, 1,000 words leave not the same deep impression as does a single deed. And I think we probably know that today as a picture is worth 1,000 words, right?
That's right.
Okay. So we're going to talk about evaluators. Who are you writing for? You're writing for proposal readers. Who are the evaluators? They're the people that are going to look at your proposal. They come in basically 3 different types. They're going to be the skimmers, the executives, military officers, government officials. They don't have the time to read the whole thing. They're just going to skim the text. Bold headings, action captions, and themes. That's pretty much all they're going to read. You're going to have the graphics people who are going to love looking at the figures and the charts. Maybe read some of the highlighted themes. Then you've got the text guys, maybe people that don't overly fond of graphics, they just like reading the text.
Right.
Okay? Most evaluators are actually a combination of all of those. So some will actually look at every word, they'll study every graphic. They want to see the low-level detail. It's in the graphic. If they don't want to, they can get the essence without wading through all the details. So most people are a combination of those. Before we start creating our graphic, though, we want an action caption.
Right.
Right? What's the action caption? It's the essence of the message you're going to try and convey in the graphic, and it helps you focus what you want, how you're going to do that graphic. Okay. So you know sorry, I lost my train of thought there. The action caption is the opportunity to guide the evaluator. Yeah, it's the why us. Why do you look at this graphic?
Yeah.
Here's why I want you to look at this graphic. That's where I was going.
Yes.
Just slipped my head. Okay. So typically an action caption is going to highlight the benefits to the customer, and it's going to pass this so what test.
Okay.
Okay. We also need our call out, and that's in the text, that sends the reader to the graphic. If we have a graphic that doesn't have a location, an anchor, then when do I look at the graphic?
Right. Yes.
Okay. So taken together, the call out, the action caption, and the graphic itself are the primary instruments for conveying both that required information and win themes, and guiding the evaluator to the conclusion you want them to reach. So we should have a bold assertion, directly responsive to the RFP, a benefit to the customer, and some proof. Okay, let's have a look at one. Okay, here we go. So, horse chart. Who's familiar with the horse chart? Right, this is the horse chart. It's a picture of a horse, caption says, a horse. Not very useful, that's a horse chart. It's a classic horse chart. It's obvious, it provides no message. Now let's look at figure 2. Okay, here we have the benefits afforded using a horse. So that's a real action caption.
Yeah.
For example, if you have a proposal and you put a schedule in the proposal as a figure and you just say, figure 1, schedule, that's a horse chart. It doesn't tell you anything.
Right.
But if you said, oh, well, the program schedule includes scheduled slack periods to allow recovery from unplanned events, that's an action caption. That tells me why I need to look at the schedule, right? So finally today, we'll just take a look at some different art types that are best for the message. Okay, so before we build any graphic, we're going to say, what am I trying to say? What's with this piece of art? What's the best medium for us to use? And there's 7 generic types of graphics we're going to use in proposals. Okay, we're going to have focus boxes, which are going to be that thing in the major section, top right-hand corner. It's going to be the thing they see first. It's going to be the key messages with some bullets. Maybe we've got flow charts and org charts are great for showing reporting relationships or sequences. We've got graphs, great for showing variables and how these change. We're going to have illustrations and diagrams, and they're going to give substance to concepts, conceptual objects, and show a level of detail that photographs can't necessarily show. We've got some maps, plans, plots, layouts showing topographical relationships, scale and distance. And then, of course, photographs, which are great for convincing people you actually have it.
Yes.
Okay, you've done it before or whatever. And then finally, of course, tables, where we always end up doing tables. But they're great for showing comparisons and trends and technical detail. You can reuse art from other proposals, but you have to make sure that it has a specific message, easy for me to say, specific message that you want for this proposal. For some common processes, it might be appropriate to take an existing figure, you know, that's for a standard process and make it specific to this proposal. There is merit in the fact that it's an established procedure, but you have to make sure it reflects on this specific proposal.
Right.
Okay, so I think we're going to have some questions here.
Yes, we do.
So
All right.
if you can put us back. There we are.
Yes.
We've got some questions.
This is from Melissa for Dick. Do you own any or all of the albums that were featured on today's Art Talk?
Thank you, Melissa. I actually have all of the old Yes albums. I don't have some of the newer ones though.
Okay.
But I have probably all of the ones that were the classics.
Wow.
Yeah, up to Relayer and things like that.
That's great. From AJ, so who created the wonderful art on the book covers? Was it Roger
on the
Dean?
book covers. So all this artwork here, this is from our wonderful publications team. Green screen's doing its thing again. Our wonderful publications team of Tom Paisley and Patricia Ventura Parra.
Wow, beautiful. From Sean Wilson, is there a difference between a proposal and a response to an RFP?
No, they are synonymous.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm always amused by people that say they write RFPs. They're not. They're writing proposals.
Exactly. Right. And from Christine Collette, do you notice a difference with your reader when you have a hard copy submission versus a digital copy submission using columns when you prepare your template?
Yeah, that's a good question. One of the things that we did as, we obviously write proposals to our clients to get business for all you out there to be deployed. We used to do a standard portrait proposal, which we always ended up submitting as a PDF, right? And then a few years ago, we actually said, well, how about if we make it easy for people to evaluate on a screen?
Right.
And when you think about evaluating on a screen, instead of putting it into a binder and printing it, you really think about doing it in a landscape format. But then you start to say, well, I can't have just one column because the lines would be crazy long. You'd never be able to read it.
Yeah.
So then you're forced to go to multiple columns. So our current proposals that we put out to our clients to get you folks deployed are actually 3-column landscape.
Right, yeah.
Makes it very easy to read on
It
a laptop or a tablet or just on a screen. So I think that's one of the considerations that I would. I like the landscape format. You have a lot of options with it.
Right,
Okay.
right. From Chuck Goddard, the AMU is the key to writing a good module. It is often a mix of bullets and text. I like bullet outline format because it focuses on message. Your thoughts?
Oh, absolutely. I think the temptation is for people to start writing in the AMU, right? And it's an easy temptation, and a lot of I might have slipped into writing it myself. But if you can just stick to the bullets, it's far more important, I think, in the AMU. And the AMU is what's going to go to the pink team, which is your first chance for external people outside the team to review it. And you really only need the bullets to convey what it is you're trying to say in that module. So avoid the temptation to start writing.
Right, yeah, I agree. From Kurt McMillan, with respect to ghosting, how far can you go? As an example, is it ever appropriate, legally, ethically, or otherwise, to name other competitors and talk about their designs in your proposal volume? Content.
That's a tricky one. I think the point of ghosting is to be subtle about it.
Yeah.
I think if you can say, if you know that your competitor has got a specific technical approach, and then you can say, and we considered it, but here's why we didn't pick it, dum dum dum, and the benefits, whatever, then I think, I don't think you should ever name them, frankly.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, they did a really bad job on the last thing. You don't want to pick them.
Yeah.
I don't think you should do that. I think you can be subtle about it.
Great. From Jeannie, how will this process change with the advent of digital proposals?
I think I'd need to know what you meant by digital proposals at that point. I mean, if you're talking about stuff that's submitted online, as opposed to in documents.
Maybe that's what she's talking about.
Most of the proposals that we end up doing are really text graphics-based proposals, okay? But I know there is a whole world of people out there that actually respond to Q&A type proposals, which are all online, and there's a question, and then you have to answer it. So, should it make any difference? Not really, because you've still got the same thing you're trying to get through. You've got a win strategy. If you haven't got a win strategy, how are you going to win this proposal, then you probably shouldn't be bidding it, right?
Yeah.
The win strategy is going to devolve into win themes, which go into each module. You're going to have features and benefits. If you've got features that have no benefits, pointless. You're going to have, hopefully, some discriminators as to why your solution is different. So I think that basic process works regardless of how what the physical medium is that you're responding with, whether it's online in the Q&A type format. And I know a lot of those rely on pre-canned responses and things, but still, you can put the features and benefits and of your approach, why you're the lowest risk bidder and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Right, well, that's it for questions. Thanks for going through the first half of the SMA way, Dick. It already looks like a useful reference for proposal writers that I will be recommending to all my accounts. So, what's in store for next week?
So next week I'll cover the last 3 chapters of the book. Hopefully we won't overrun. I don't think we're going to overrun. I think that's it, Patty, for this week.
Yes.
Well, not quite.
Oh.
So first off, I had to photobomb you guys,
Oh,
but I want to give you each
Aw.
something to say thank you, Dick.
well, thank you.
The book has been a labor of love, and you've done
Oh,
a
yes.
phenomenal job with it. It's
Thank
been
you.
very
I
well
enjoyed doing
received.
it.
Oh,
Thank you
yes.
very much.
And and as well as all these other books, Dick helped participate as part of the production team in some manner on all of the books, and it's been.
And we'll have some more coming
And
next
we
year.
do have some more coming next year as
Yes.
well.
Yes, we
That's
do.
right. So thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Thank you,
Patty,
Jacques.
thank you for joining today.
Thank you, Jacques.
All right.